your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is Friday, the 26th of July, 2024. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is news to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. The government will add a minister to the Ministry of National Security. The person chosen by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is Member of Parliament for Port of Spain South, Keith Scotland's Senior Counsel. Scotland's focus, the Prime Minister said, will be on matters relating to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. There are 23 members of cabinet at this time in Dr. Rowley's cabinet. The disclosure made public yesterday during the weekly post-cabinet news briefing held at Whitehall in Port of Spain. Dr. Rowley said the police service faced many challenges and aimed to address them in a meaningful way. He was asked by reporters why it took so long to put a junior minister in the Ministry of National Security. And Director of the Police Complaints Authority, David West, has supported the appointment of Keith Scotland, Senior Counsel, as the Minister in the Ministry of National Security, responsible for policing, saying Scotland's appointment will bring added benefits to the police service. He said it's a positive appointment, but there's no secret there are many issues facing the TTPS. 17 athletes will represent Trinidad and Tobago at the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris, France, which begin today. A total of 10 men and 7 women will be aiming for glory in 3 sporting disciplines: athletics, cycling, and swimming. Competitors will parade on boats along the River Seine. The French government has promised an unprecedented security operation to guard these games. The security operation involves the largest peacetime deployment of security forces in French history, with up to 75,000 police officers, soldiers, and hired guards on patrol in Paris at any one time. There are 206 countries represented at the Games and 184 at the Paralympics. All salaries, daily paid and monthly paid, have been paid in full. There are no outstanding wages and salary payments to any employees. The update from Chairman of the Management of the San Juan Laventille Regional Corporation, as it responded to what it describes as very misleading articles published in Thursday's Trinidad Guardian. The article said, and was titled "Employees Unpaid Amid Shortfall in San Corporation." Haiti's new interim Prime Minister Gary Cornille is set to attend next week's summit of CARICOM leaders in Grenada for the first time since he took office in early June. Among the tasks are to reduce widespread gang violence with the help of Kenya-led international security forces and prepare the country for long overdue elections. CARICOM's Assistant General Secretary of Foreign and CARICOM Relations, Elizabeth Solomon, says the regional group played a major role in reviving Haiti's governance. A wildfire is ravaging the historic Canadian tourist town of Jasper and the surrounding national park, with an official from Alberta province saying it was out of control. Roughly 25,000 people have been evacuated from Jasper National Park. The scale of the damage is still unclear, but an official said 30 to 50% of buildings in Jasper may have been destroyed. That is news to 6 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We'll have major news coming your way at 7 a.m. Good Friday morning to you.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Neighbors, it is Friday. Say it with me once again. It's Friday. Yeah, the 26th day of July. Thank you so much for joining us on the Power Breakfast Show on Power 102 Digital. Full casting. You just heard from Dr. Paul Richards. We'll hear from Wendell Stephen, Richard Ragoobarsingh. We got Sheen and Ruben in the mix. And of course, my name is Steve Khan. Morning to you, Pablo. What's happening?
Good morning, everyone. Good Friday morning. Good Olympic Friday opening morning.
Yeah, at 1:30 today our time. I don't know what channel.
Celine Dion.
Yeah, Celine Dion. Of course, I'm all set. Just thought I'll let you know this. Watch this. Watch this. Oh, can you see it? It's white though. You can't. Oh well. It's my Olympic hat.
What discipline you're participating? You're competing, doubles eating.
Yes, yes, yes. Just like breakdancing, doubles eating is now an Olympic sport, and I thought I might, go for gold.
No comment.
Honestly, doubles taste a French double. Don't know how that will taste, but we'll see. We'll see. Yes, but the Olympics start today, and the French authorities are saying there are 4 million fewer people coming in for the Olympics in Paris this year. So we'll see how that goes. But security is very tight.
Everything is not that expensive. I mean, the French over
it is expensive.
It'd be ridiculous to the prices. Come on.
Yeah, it is expensive.
I have a couple of friends from Trinidad and Tobago there. It's about 16 of them, and they said it's ridiculous from the
it is ridiculous
to everything. Said the French just overdid it, and they didn't. This is not an Olympic that they think is for the world. It's for people who are elite and have money, and that's it.
Well, for example, if you want to take the train from London to Paris, which I think the average cost is close to 60 euros, that price went up to $189.
It's really ridiculous. And the Olympic Committee,
you're going to take a plane
across. The governing body needs to do something about that. When countries bid to host the Olympics, they need to have some kind of system in place where they could regulate prices. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. It is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. Things have just exploded in prices.
People from smaller countries have a bigger challenge,
Yeah. In the world of cricket, West Indies won the toss. Is it West Indies and chose to? Well, England and chose to bat. Sorry. So after 1.4 overs, it is 4 for the loss of no wickets. So, yeah. All right. That's in cricket. Let's see who sent us hellos this morning. If I don't do that, I get both from you guys.
Good morning, Christopher Rowley. He just crossed the French border heading to Paris. Good for you. Enjoy.
Who?
Look for the TNT crew in red, white, and black. They're all over the place.
You said Christopher Rowley is heading to Paris?
Christopher Rowley. That's the name that came up. I don't know if it's a real name. I have no reason to doubt it's a real name.
Oh, okay. Well, let's say good morning going out to Maria Celia, Wendy and James, Slick Money Grip, got Celia, Boy Bedesi out in Davy, and boy, a vexer to you bring big guy, flew all the way from New York to bring me doubles. David Wares brought doubles.
Morning.
You by the doubles place and have not brought me doubles yet. David, and happy birthday to you, Boy Bedesi. Do have a great, safe birthday. It is the weekend, so in moderation, all right? Take a drink for us. Beefy Smith out in Goodwood, Tobago. Good morning. Weed Bennett, Brent Hackshaw, Ray out in West Palm Beach, Florida. Anthony Tinto, Carol Guevara, Nikisha Pierre, Pearl Cordes, Miss Ingrid in Tucson, Arizona, Josie Richardson, DL, Gloria Gray, Rena Budu Jennings, Biznath Passad. Morning to you. Patricia McLean, Brenda Isaac, John Cato, Trinidad Margo. I haven't heard from you in a long time. Yolanda Cordner, Sherwin Kerr from Barbados today. All right, Sherwin, have a good one. Michael Robinson in Yokohama, Japan. David Wares, and of course, Mrs. Wares. How you doing? Cynthia Aaron. Ray Ray is saying, Paul, you're looking real sharp.
Good morning, Wendell.
Good morning. Good morning, Paul.
Are you finished yet?
Good morning, Wendell.
Good morning, Paul.
Again, Cynthia Aaron, Wayne Ramsey, Roger, Christopher Rowley, Evans David. Boy, I tell you, Captain Ron in Orlando, Val, Dan Raj, Michael in London, Sankofa, David Nelson, Oliver Man Warren. Good morning to you. Hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for hitting us up on our message board via Facebook, YouTube, and of course, WhatsApp at 318-1021.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning,
Good morning,
Richard.
pal.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And good morning, listeners and viewers all over the globe. It's Friday. It's Friday, July 26th, the last Friday in the month of July. Tomorrow would be the anniversary, the 34th anniversary of the attempted coup in 1990. You know, so I think Wendell has started his walk, his trek. He does a walk every year, you know. But it's also the week before, I think in exactly a week time is Emancipation Day. Is it next Thursday?
Next Thursday.
Next
Thursday
Thursday.
coming.
African Emancipation Day, my apologies. The Prime Minister made that very clear last evening when he addressed the dinner in celebration of African Emancipation Day. I had the pleasure of attending. I love seeing African clothing, but I like to see authentic African clothing. I don't like to see the Chinese thing. The cloth that come from China. Because I was very, very adamant when I went to Africa. I said, do not sell me that, you know. I don't want that cloth that all you're getting from China. Give me the cloth all you sew yourself. You understand? Give me the cloth, the authentic cloth that come from Africa, the kente. Give me that. That is a little more money, I'll buy that. And Paul, I had the pleasure of wearing your lovely Giniami. Big, huge Giniami that you brought for me. I had the pleasure of wearing it last year. So plenty of people were kind of watching it now. Well, where you get that, boy? You know?
So you were at the diplomatic center last evening?
Yes.
And nobody didn't drag it off your neck and throw it on the ground.
At all. I'm quiet now with this volume, man.
Let's say good morning to Minister Keith Scotland, SC.
Yes. Well, he pulled me aside last evening because I had heard it early and I said, what is that I just hear there? I wasn't sure because it didn't run with a ticker tape. And then when I looked on social media, I'm not seeing anybody saying anything. So I messaged the secretary, Ronald Calendar, and I said, Ronald, did I hear correct here just now? Did Minister Scotland, did keep the MP get a position? He said yes, so I immediately congratulated him, and then it started to share his ascension to office, something that he was breaking for a while. He did kind of hinted to me the other day that he was going to take office.
What are you doing with all them cases?
What
are you doing with all them cases?
I don't know, one of which is mine.
It's a thriving practice.
I tell him that. I say, so what? Where I get an attorney now at your fees, which is.
Well, I'm sure he has juniors to carry on the good work.
He does. He has a well-staffed office, you know.
You can advise from a distance.
Yeah, right up the road from here.
So, of course, the responses have started coming in. PCA Director David West said it's a good development. So he endorsed it. Why this thing not coming up? Oh, Father, this morning. Come on, computer, not today.
Oh, computer. I thought Gina was there.
Yeah. For some reason, this computer.
Are you bringing up a clip?
I'll bring up a clip in a short while, which is a very disturbing clip after warn the audience.
But anyway, congratulations to newly minted Minister Keith Scotland. He has specific responsibility for the police and national security. And I think he'll do a fantastic job, you know. So we had a little chat last night because...
What does that mean?
Huh?
What does that mean?
In terms of, what does what mean?
He has responsibility for the police service. What does that mean?
I don't know, you know. I don't know. I don't know if they went into the details.
These were his criminal reporters.
Huh?
These were his criminal reporters.
Yeah, they should have asked them.
Well, they asked in a roundabout way, but I don't think they were probing enough. The Prime Minister did respond to one of the questions by saying that most of his time is spent dealing with issues of national security. One understands that the police are, and this is a figurative expression, the tip of the spear in trying to deal with crime. It is no secret the police have not been performing.
Yeah.
Correct.
As at the level they should. Let me add that. At the level they should. I don't want it to look like, I don't want it to come across like they're not trying, you understand, or none of the efforts are bearing fruit. Some of the efforts are bearing fruit, but it's not at the level that society expects. So with the appointment of Minister Scotland SC, I'm wondering what is the exact role? Is it to to deal with requests from the Commissioner of Police? Is it to respond from a cabinet level consistently on what the police may be doing and hold them accountable? Is it, is it
because I think he has also been included in the cabinet, even though he's a minister in the ministry. I think he's also in the cabinet.
Well, what isn't it that once you are appointed a minister, even a junior minister, you're in the cabinet?
No.
Not necessarily, okay.
Not necessarily so, yeah.
What does this mean for the role of Minister Hines? Is it that Minister Hines is dealing with the other aspects of national security, and this strategy, clearly says strategy, a policy decision by the government, means that now you have more oversight? Because remember, we had an oversight issue with the SSA the other day.
Yes, there's a lot, and
Paul,
you're touching on probably all the reasons why this was done. You know, I could say a lot more, but I try not to.
I will say a lot more. Is it that it's an admission that the task was just too much in terms of volume of work for Minister Hines? Is it that the police commissioner by herself can't do it? Is it
Go ahead. You're going good.
Question mark. The implications and inferences to statements, you know.
You're going good so far.
And that's why I said our media already asked the right questions.
And everything you just asked, I think you've hit the nail on the head every occasion. Every occasion.
Minister Scotland was the chair. Well, he's now was the chair of the Joint Select Committee National Security. He cannot hold both positions.
Yes.
Right? So I much suspect Minister Randall Mitchell will now be the chair.
Oh dear.
He's on the committee and he's been very strong on the committee. You understand?
Okay.
He's been very strong on the committee. And now Scotland might have to come before the committee.
Well, yes. But isn't Fitzgerald Hines part of that committee?
No, you can't.
As minister?
Minister and Minister Fitzgerald Hines was the chair before Minister Scotland.
Okay, but as minister, he stopped being part of the committee.
You can't chair the committee on a line ministry that you substantially sit.
No, but you can't even be part of it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not that I know of. I've never seen it.
All right.
And the National Security Committee, GSC, is chaired by a government minister, a government person. Let me say a government person.
Yeah.
You know? So we'll see.
Yeah.
We shall see. So that was the big news yesterday.
Yes.
Let's wish all our 17 athletes, administrators, coaches, support staff in Paris all the best today.
Opening is today, right?
As they represent us in Paris, the over expensive Olympics of the century.
Oh Lord. They say and Paris is already so expensive.
It's already expensive.
They say everything went up so high.
I just think it's disgusting. I have some friends there, and I mean, it's only because it's like a bucket list for them that they put up with the prices. They say it's disgusting. And smaller countries, representatives or supporters in smaller countries like ours, are struggling to get tickets to events, struggling.
Yes.
You know, and when you get access to it, you have to be able to pay the price. And I just think that's wrong. That's not what the Olympic spirit is about.
Yeah.
Big country, small country, supporter, athlete, it's supposed to have a fairly equal chance of getting access to support your team and or participate on an even playing field. But we'll see.
Yeah. Paris is a place that everybody dreams to go because there's so much beauty about about the place.
It's a very romantic.
It could be a dump when they're ready.
You could what? Sorry.
It could be a dump when you're ready.
Like any other city. Speaking of cities, I'm going to play a video, and I apologize for two things. It's very graphic, so it's very graphic, but I'm playing it for a reason. I mean, there are several of our audience members who contend, and rightly so. We talk about Trinidad and Tobago's crime, but the U.S. has some situations there that are very, very, very disturbing. By the way, Barack Obama and his wife endorsed Kamala Harris yesterday.
Oh, they did.
They did.
Great.
But I guess it's a phase, the strategic, as one filler thing died on, they adding to the,
Yeah.
to build the momentum. So I understand why they waited.
You know, the U.S. ambassador, Candice Bond, has a bit of resemblance to Kamala Harris.
Yes, I think so. I agree with that.
Yeah. Because I was literally sitting at the table next to her.
Well, they both look like they have Caribbean lineage.
Yes.
And I know the vice president has Caribbean and Jamaican,
Yes.
And they both look. Ambassador Bond looks like she could be a Trini.
Yes, she does.
Yeah. Very attractive woman also. Yeah. So, and this is something that I'm fearful of that will escalate when I play the video, if Donald Trump is reelected.
Oh, I think I know what the video is.
So I apologize for, I think there's cursing in it that I couldn't get out. I tried. And it's very graphic because it shows a woman being shot by police.
Yes. That video is horrific.
Massey. And I'm playing it because it just, when we talk about police oversight and wanting body cams and stuff, it's not that I am against the police, as some people just jump on themselves and say. It is about accountability. And it can't be
this is body cam footage, that's all, Paul?
Huh?
And this is body cam footage, I think. Eh?
And this is body cam footage that showed how the officers conducted themselves.
Yes.
Why we keep asking for body cams to be worn consistently. So again, if you are maybe triggered by a violent encounter where a woman is shot, you may want to look away for about 2 minutes, And I apologize if any of the cursing slips through.
Oh, it hurts you. You called us.
Okay.
So what'd you hear?
Somebody outside my house.
Yeah. It was a video I was talking about where the woman got shot in the U.S.
I just, please, I don't know what to do.
Doing all right mentally?
Yes.
Sure?
My medicine and stuff.
All right. Okay.
I love y'all. Thank y'all.
All right.
Now watch that pot.
Where you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I would rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
Huh?
Rebuke you in the name of
You better not. I swear to God, I'll shoot you right in your face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the pot! Drop the pot! Drop the pot!
19 shots fired.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
I'm gonna go get my kit.
Headshot, dude. You're done. You can go get it, but that's a headshot. Yeah, I'm not taking a bullet in the water. Head. And look, it came right to our feet.
Imagine this.
She died, right?
Yes, she died.
Well, she got shot in the head.
She
The
died.
police officer, he's in prison.
But he's been charged. Right?
He's been charged with murder.
Right.
But also, the same individual who was charged with the murder did not have his camera on. The
And
other
he probably
police
thought
officer
his partner had it off too. He is a sick man to drop the pot and then shoot a woman.
that is a sad story. This was a video I was talking about 2 days ago.
The point I wanted to make regarding that is, while we can assert that most police officers follow the letter of the law and their training guides them through situations like that, and he may have very well felt threatened
by a pot.
very often. After a review of their use of force policy, he was charged. And the reason there could have been a review is because there was body cam footage. So when people jump out themselves and go, oh, 4 dead, so what? Because they're suspected of being involved in a crime. I don't know that is the way to go.
No, it can't be the way to go. It can't be the way to go. There's other footage. I sent you another clip where they pulled over a car driven by a white woman and her grandson was in the car. The grandson is black. Paul, you're gone silent. Paul?
You're muted.
You're muted. Paul?
Still ain't hearing you, but go ahead, Wendell.
Yeah, where they pulled over that car. And the woman is saying, but this is my grandson. It is, and they put him in the back of the squad car already, It is crazy. America, Amerikka. That's how I spell it.
Yeah.
And as I said, it is not that we're calling for body cam footage to trap police. But the very often in tense encounters, there are conflicting narratives about what happened between the police account and bystander witness account. Right? And very often the police are right, and very often the police are wrong. Mova 5 years ago is a case in point where the police said one thing and the camera footage from CCTV cameras showed something completely different. Somebody and I were talking yesterday. A commissioner of police past was misled by officers in an operation in La Puerta Diego Martin.
Yes.
One of their colleagues was shot. And a manhunt ensued for a person who is dead now, Jelani Romney, as the suspect in shooting the officer. And it turned out that the officer was shot by a bullet from one of his colleagues, probably mistakenly.
True.
Right? But that is the point. So when you want to jump out of yourself and so what? There's miscreants, they're dead. That is not the way.
Yeah.
And very often, police have a right to defend themselves against people who open fire or raise cutlass or whatever the case is. They have a right and a duty to defend themselves and their colleagues. But we will never know what happened unless you have evidence such as body cam footage. Guys, I have to log off for an interview in about 5 minutes, but I will be back in 20 minutes. All right?
Sure, no problem. And that is why too we have been making that clarion call here, because we can't afford these mistakes. Let me tell you something. If America make the mistake and put Donald Trump back in office, these incidents are going to multiply by the hundreds. Trust me. You understand? Because every day you're seeing footage, you're seeing images like that. There was another, and a lot of people come down on Trinidad and Tobago because of our crime problem. But just take a look sometimes at international news and see for yourself what is happening around the world, especially with guns. The more guns people have, is the more killing that takes place. And I don't know how else we could convey that message. The more guns people have, is the more killings they're going to have. It's a natural consequence of arming people. You understand? While we say, oh, the crime situation so bad, make sure and give everybody guns, which was the policy of a person at one time, right? How I should put it? Help the backlog of all the applications over there. No problem with that. But just remember, the consequence of more guns is more killings. Always. It's bound to happen. You understand? So I don't know how else to put that over. I have a couple birthdays today. If I could.
Well, I totally agree with one of our listeners. I hope that is on the top of the list for Senior Council Member of Parliament, Keith Scotland.
What should be top of the list?
Oh. What?
Now, if all you know Keith Scotland, he is result oriented, yeah? And like that man don't sleep. He's a hyper man, eh? He hyper.
He sent me a message at 2:03 this morning, and I'm going, would this man do sleep?
Well, you get yours at 2:03, I get mine at 1:55 a.m.
Okay, so it was close.
So he was up sending messages. Yeah. He's a hyper man. And a lot of people are going to have a problem sometimes with how he operates. Eh? Trust me, because I know him well.
Yeah, we know him very well. We know him very well. Not as well as Wendell, but...
Yeah, he is a hyper man. But I think he will get the job done. But I hope he gets it.
Well, let's hope so.
Yeah, because Lord knows, Minister Hines definitely needed the help. And he couldn't have probably gotten better help than Keith Scotland, actually. When I look through the list of people available to Dr. Rowley, I think Keith Scotland would probably be the best person to assist Minister Hines in that ministry. You know? Yeah. Happy birthday, Chris Brathwaite, my electrician my electrician and friend, I have to say, for many, many years. Jojo Carrington, Terry Wall, who is that? That is my cousin, but he can't be 53 years old. Sunshine Belfort, Bevon Brown, Sue Bihari, Matthew Rahamat, Mercedes Washington, and Louis Nurse. He's a popular musician from Louis and the Lynx.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to Louis also. Yesterday was Ian the Goose, the loose goose we used to call him back in the day.
Yeah.
There you go.
Ian the Goose Elegor.
Yeah, man. Yesterday was his birthday.
Sent them greetings yesterday. Today is also the my very good friend George. Today's his father's birthday as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
all right. Somebody's asking me, so some results coming in the TTPS. I would hope so. We would all hope so.
yeah, we only wait and see. There's not much we can do, but let's hope so. He is to deal only with police issues, nothing else.
Yeah. At least
Nothing
else. That is what was reported.
So, and I really hope this body cam, and when they sourcing this body cam, they buy proper body cams.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go to the lowest bidder.
Mm-hmm.
You know, go through the specs with a fine tooth comb. You know, I mean, anything I buy electronically, I go through the specs with a fine tooth comb.
Mm-hmm.
Anything electronic and warranty. Warranty. All right. 30 minutes after the RS6 call. Let's take some of your calls. We open up the lines. Of course, next, let me just get it straight here. I didn't do it yesterday. Let me just get it. Let's see. On Tuesday will be World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. So we are going to talk to a couple of people coming up in the next hour regarding that. And one of the questions I want to ask is that more and more, especially on social media, we are seeing people missing.
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
Many people missing, and there's no age factor. Mainly, it will bend more to young folks. But we got to find that out. Good morning, caller. You're our first one. Who is this?
Mr. Patrick.
I don't know. Good morning.
Good morning, Wendell.
All right, well,
morning.
One already.
you beat Mr. Patrick today.
Dress up nice, and you left.
Yeah. All right, go ahead. Lots of calls coming in.
Okay. So last night I was watching CNC3 News, and when the headline said that Minister Hines has been relieved as a minister, and I said, what stupidness are you in here? Because he hasn't been relieved as he is the Minister of National Security, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Scotland, SC is the junior minister in charge of the police thing, according to what Dr. Rowley said.
Mm-hmm.
But for them to say that was so misleading, and I say, what kind of headline is that, boy? And then, after that, Gary Griffith, of course, had to say something. Oh, he's only the minister for the fire service now. I said, duh. I just, if he was on any other radio station and television, because they mislead any population.
As usual.
Yeah, I don't watch CNC3 News. Thank you.
Yeah,
I don't like that. I watch TV6. I find CNC3, they take too long to land the plane. They don't get their facts correct sometimes. I don't know. Good morning.
Yeah, morning, Mr. Steve.
Hey, Mr. Patrick, you lost this morning, boy. You lost.
Where I lost? What I lost?
You didn't get to call first?
You always have to be first to be recognized.
All right.
Yeah, Wendell, morning. Richard Ragoobarsingh, morning. Or Richard, morning.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Patrick.
Yes, I had a call to go to the property tax officer, the Minister of Finance office in Aruka here.
Mm-hmm.
But how they have the thing open, everybody talking to one another in the office. And a lady come to query a fee of $300. Wendell?
Mm-hmm.
$300 to come to query. She find that too high. Right?
Mm-hmm.
She used to pay $42 and now she has to pay $300. I just shake my head. Then I watched another document, another situation where this old lady, she tell me she's 92 years of age, came to deal with that situation. The property, the land she living on, like it have 6 properties. You know them families that be building little house
mm-hmm.
on the property, and she asked, who has to pay for what and who has to pay for what. So I tried to find out where the children is or where the grandchildren is. They supposed to come to find out what they have to do, what they don't have to do. You understand? But people confused right now to know what is what outside there with this property thing, and we keep asking that they bring somebody to clear up this thing again.
Well, we are working on that, Mr. Patrick. We did say we're gonna work on Mr. Brian Manning again.
Because coming on the 1st of August or September is the deadline for payment. But the lady and everybody receive no documents to look at pay.
Yeah. I haven't received any as yet.
Everything. So people
All right.
I'll bring somebody to Wendell and I'll explain.
Thanks, Mr. Patrick.
We'll work on that, Mr. Patrick.
Yeah, we'll do that. Vincent out of the UK. I don't know why people call the WhatsApp. We do not hold on. We do not answer WhatsApp calls, period, at 24/7. And Vincent coming back to the police officer with the family in the at the airport, English village of what? Buckleton? Is that it? Yeah, we saw that video. It's horrible. Horrible. Yeah, Wendell.
Who's the Latin Richard when he's ready?
Paul, I have no control.
Oh dear. So he's probably waiting, right?
I guess, but I don't know where Paul is. My door is closed. I don't know. All right, let's grab some calls here. Good morning. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Mr. Brooklyn.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning.
Yeah, we heard it the first time.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, just one quick point. I listened to one of the radio programs. I think it's on I-95, and I think I'm not too sure if it's your Wendell who was on that program with Darian.
It was me.
We were talking about raising funds. For a minister. I think a gentleman who is suffering from some kind of bone marrow cancer.
Yeah.
And he was once a minister in the parliament. He was once a senator, and I'm almost sure he served as a senator. I remember him serving as a senator together with the current minister of trade. And I was so shocked and taken aback. And I feel very emotional about it. If Maxi Coffee can get the same, that treatment that he got, why can't this gentleman get the same treatment that Maxi Coffee got? It's really heart-wrenching. He should not be left alone and being treated like this. Come on. And for 2 days, that thing has been on my mind. I keep saying to myself, why is this gentleman not getting the same treatment that Maxi Coffee got? He needs assistance. He has to go away to get his treatment. He can't get it in Trinidad. And he has to be raising funds, a former senator and a former minister. Come on, gentlemen. We can do better than that. Have a great day and God bless you guys.
I hope so. Thank you.
I'm happy. Steve, give me a couple an opportunity now. I'm happy that he raised that because former member of parliament for Laventille West, former minister, former senator, Nile Young Hippolyte, has an acute cancer and leukemia and lymphoma. And it requires quite a tidy sum for him to go abroad to get the treatment and so on. So a group of us came together, friends of him, Darian, myself, Shaka, Subero, Eldon Coker, and a few others, including his wife, Lisa, have come together and are planning. We are doing an event at Soundforge on August 4th to raise some funds for him. It's a $400 a ticket. It's loads of entertainment. And of course, his cutters and drinks will be on sale and so on. So this is our way of trying to assist Nile Young. I know a lot of other people are helping, including the government, I would imagine, in one way or the other. He's not a sitting member of parliament, again, or sitting minister. But at the same time, we are reaching out to as many people who can help. You don't have to know Nile Young. Nile Young was such a quiet, unassuming guy.
Yeah, very much. I didn't know that, Wendell.
Yeah. He has cancer and it's life-threatening. So we are doing a fundraiser on August 4th. I'll tell you a little more about it next week so that you could. I have tickets available. You know my number. Call me. Shaka, Eldon, Darian, Lisa, Brent McPhee.
It's next week Sunday.
It's next week Sunday at Soundforge. The mayor has consented to give us the venue free of charge.
Okay.
So
Wonderful.
Come out and support Nile Young. Buy a ticket. And come and Lime at the same time, meet some people.
Yeah. Arson attacks paralyzed French high-speed rail network hours before start of the Olympics. That's breaking news now coming in here. French high-speed rail network was hit Friday with widespread and criminal acts of vandalism, including arson attacks, paralyzing travel to Paris from across the rest of France and Europe only hours before the grand opening of the ceremony of the Olympics. French officials described the attack as criminal actions and said they were investigating whether they were linked to the Olympic Games. Ah, boy. I tell you. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning, Miss Henry.
I want to congratulate the mother who took her, I think it's 15 years.
Oh, yes, I wanted to discuss that.
14. I wish you all should put that as a poll. For taking her 15-year-old, as she said, he
16.
was breaking into people's homes, so he was labeled a bandit.
Yeah. Where was it? In Mausica?
Somewhere in Aruka.
Yeah. People, if you don't know this story, a lady, like she locked up her house and like went to work early in the morning, came back in the afternoon, and realized that
when they came back, her son things were missing.
Yeah, so she realized clothes was missing, and well, yeah. So what happened now? She made a report to the police station, and then the individual who broke into the house, the mother of that individual, a 16-year-old boy, she realized, but wait now. What's going on here? Where does boy getting all these clothes from? I didn't buy it.
Exactly.
So she took him to the police station and said, listen, my son have all these clothes. I don't know where he got it from. And they already had a report from the other person.
From the neighbor.
So they arrested. So kudos to the mother. We need more of that because there are plenty parents that getting stuff, see their children getting stuff and turn a blind eye. Yeah. Thank you, Diego Martin.
Steve, let me tell you something. I always used to search my children's room, my two sons' room. And one day, my big son used to call me Burroughs. And one day, I went into his room in the closet. And I saw this jersey. So when he came home, I asked him, I said, where you get this jersey? It was just after Christmas. So it could have been in January. And he said, Mommy, Auntie gave me that. I called my sister and I asked her, because I know I didn't buy it. And this is what parents need to do. You see your children with things, they come home, they didn't buy it. Find out where they get it from.
Yeah.
Maybe you go to the head of the class. Well done.
All right.
That is a potential.
It's a good idea for a poll, Ms. Diego Martin.
That's a good idea. Thank you, Diego Martin.
Bye.
All right.
Yeah.
Sexy San Fernando is saying the story with the 16-year-old is one thing. Everyone's congratulating the mother. But how is the lady and the boy getting help? I hope the police youth club pulls him in. It's not just congratulating, it's to help her keep him straight.
Yes. That'll be a challenge, especially now that he's been publicly embarrassed. You have to be careful with that. There's a double-edged sword there.
I tell you, being in a police prison, I've heard, is not a nice thing,
No.
Not a nice thing. All right, I take in two more quick calls if I can get quick calls. Good morning.
Good morning,
Morning.
gentlemen. I'm glad that you all ran that video about with the incident of the lady getting shot. One of the things to take away from that is the police officer that shot the woman did not have his body cam on.
I said that.
Officer, yes, I know that. The other police officer had his body cam on. So this idea that Trinidad and Tobago police like to put out there that the body cam battery does only last for an hour, that is insignificant. Because you only turn on your body cam when you are engaged in an incident. It's not that the body cam has to run for the 8 hours that you're out on patrol. Only when you are engaged with a citizen is when you turn it on and you turn it off after you are done with that citizen. So the argument that the body cam about battery does only last for an hour is mute.
All right, thank you.
But Lincoln, there is no camera. There is no camera anywhere with a good battery that lasts for only an hour. None. It don't exist.
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
Morning, sir.
Wendell,
Sir?
that gentleman that called with the assistance, I don't think
Yes.
is that he meant, what he was talking about is exactly that. What has to be done with the ordinary citizens for help for that person based on who they were. That's why I think what he's trying to say is that the state should have dealt with it. We shouldn't have to put a barbecue and a thing to make up money for that kind of thing. I think that is what he's trying to say.
Caller, he was comparing it to Maxi Coffee. Maxi Coffee at the time was a sitting government minister and MP. Now, you understand? When he got ill. So you can't make the comparison. I mean, I'm sure that the state will help, I can't say in what capacity. I don't have that link. But we are doing our part because
I think that is what he was really emphasizing on.
Yeah, I gathered that.
Yeah, and lastly, Mr. Wayne, I know. Remember, we only had to bring back Mr. Wayne sometime.
I think he's called to come back on Tuesday.
Next week, Tuesday.
But listen to this. What happened with Mr. Wayne on 2 occasions when he started to speak about the SSA and the issuing of guns. Mr. Wendell and Mr. Paul Richards led him down a different kind of route. They asked him someone he was going to talk about that. So I don't know when he come back if you look at I'm not telling you what to do, but that's just my opinion.
Caller, you are very observant.
Something that he went into something else.
Caller, you are a very observant guy, right? Did you notice how many times Paul and I interrupted Wayne and he never once got upset or never once insulted us?
Oh gosh, Wendell. Wendell, and let me tell you something. The other day when we was talking, as you mentioned that, when you see why if Mr. If Gary don't have his opinion, that is what I wanted. I forget to say that is that he have his opinion, yes. But when he was disrespectful to you and he come back and you didn't tell him nothing the next day, he attacked you again.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, thank you.
We interrupted Wayne on many occasions because that's the nature of some interviews. That's what happens,
Is Richard knocking? I don't know what.
I'm sure Richard is out there waiting and he must be fuming. But Richard, apologies. Paul is.
Let me take. All right, by the time he can do the headlines of The Guardian.
Message him now, Steve, and see what you can do, right? All right, so all I can do for you right now is The Guardian headlines, and I'll try to do plenty of it so that you to save a little time. Today, of course, is Friday, July 26th. Is the day before the 34th anniversary of the attempted coup of 1990, July 27, 1990. A lot of us can't forget that date. I certainly can't. The headline reads, Mom turns in son 16 for stealing, and that will form the basis of our poll this morning. We're going to ask you if you agree, if you support a mother turning in her son for stealing, right? Or would you do it if you had the opportunity? Something along those lines. Hines gets help. That's the main headline. PM expands cabinet, adds Scotland to National Security Ministry. And there's a picture of Keith Scotland, senior counsel, toting his legal bag into probably into Parliament. There's a picture also of Minister Fitzgerald Hines, right? No rehiring of fired SSA workers. That's also a headline on the front page. And of course, in other stories, Scotland to help Hines. Forensic Science Center employees upset over working conditions. School cop pleads not guilty to charges in Uvalde mass shooting. And Chef Jason Peru cooks up song on TNT Guyana. And of course, the third test match between England and us and West Indies started this morning. West Indies are in fact batting. All right, so that's today's Guardian.
So is it that you want me to do one? Welcome
Please.
back.
You can do the Express and the Newsday if you have it.
All right, I do have it online. Let's start with the Express. TNT's gifted oil and rice by Indian firm. Government not afraid of lawsuits from former SSA workers. PM hails gas deal with Venezuela. Bemis up Scotty. Help for Hines. Is here the Express phrase that? God, my colleagues, it is quite tongue-in-cheek. PM appoints Attorney Keith Scotland, Minister in the Ministry of National Security. That's the Express front page, and the big headline is "Beam Us Up, Scotty." Wassa cuts illegal connection to circus. Okay. Scotland to the rescue. You all hear them headlines, right?
Yes.
I'll bring my expertise to the job. Scotland named Minister in the Ministry of National Security. You did the Guardian, should the Newsday, right?
I did the Guardian, yes.
All right, so let's go to the Newsday now. And a picture of Fitzgerald Hines doing this. That's what the photographic editor chose. PM appoints second Minister in National Security, and my colleague is good, Energy Minister Cosina Deal Historic. PCA supports Scotland's appointment. Griffith, what's left for Hines to do in national security? Monidal government has questions to answer on gun dealers' illegal arrest. Planning Minister, collaboration important for national development. Criminologists, people have lost confidence in police. And flash flooding in Tunapuna, Port of Spain, and the Rima. So those are some trending stories in your Guardian Express and Newsday for today. July.
Well, we could look at a poll surrounding the turning in of the 16-year-old boy by his mother. Okay. Would you do it if you found out your son was stealing? Would you turn him in? We could ask a polls around that.
Would you?
Whilst you type in, though, I just wanted to make a comment on that issue of the Brent Thomas thing. That where the state or the police admitted that, I don't know which one, admitted that it was an unlawful detention of Brent Thomas. We have since promoted someone who was instrumental in that unlawful detention, not so? We have promoted someone to in the TTPS since then. Sometimes I wonder.
Are you serious? I don't know.
Yes, we have, Paul. Based on the reports that we would have read, the head of the PSB was involved in that unlawful detention. That the head of the PSB was promoted since as a deputy commissioner of police. Anyway, let's go to the pool. Let's go to the pool. No sign of Richard earlier.
Steve came into me, Richard, and I look at Richard.
Wendell told me Richard was there.
No, but I would imagine he would have been there. But maybe Benny realized he couldn't get through. He went off and do something else.
All right. So our poll is on the screen. All right.
Would you turn your child into the police if you found out they are involved in crime? Yes or no?
Let me change it. It sounds a little clumsy.
Yeah.
Would you report?
Mm-hmm. Right. Would you report your child to the TTPS if you found out they were involved in crime or criminal
activity? That's our poll, 222-8255, North Americans, toll free, 866-525-1099, and of course on WhatsApp at 318-1021. All right, our poll is on the screen already. It is, would you report your child to the police if you found out they are involved in crime?
Yes or no? That's our poll this morning. We have a few votes already coming in.
Yeah, I come into that. I'll send this to Shane. Let's see.
DLC after a proper curtails.
After a proper curtail. Okay, so let's go. Yes or no is what we want. Where are these votes? Oh, I think I know. Okay, here we go. DL is the first one. DL says yes. David Wares, yes. Gloria Gray, yes. John Cato, yes. Richard M. Jeremiah, yes. Miss Ingrid, absolutely yes to the poll. Julia S. Batiste, yes. Slick Money Grip, yes, 100%. Wayne Bennett, yes. Captain Ron, yes. Val says 1 time, yes. All right, let's grab some calls coming through. Good morning.
Good morning, yes.
Thank you. That's what we want. Yes or no's. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. UGZ, yes. And if you ask my children, they'll say yes also.
All right. Thank you. All right. Let's see. I did Wayne Bennett that time.
Yes, you did win, Bennett.
All right. Ish out in Malik says yes. Would you report your child to the police if you found out they're involved in crime? Yes or no? Call us, send us a message. Ronald Peer, yes. Alistair Hart, yes.
Clint said a lot of persons saying yes, but the state of the society doesn't reflect that. True, eh? I'd say it's a double-edged sword, eh? It is a double-edged sword, eh? When you think about it, especially in certain communities. You understand?
Yeah. Helen Prescott, yes.
Maybe they're just not our listeners.
All right.
And viewers.
Yes or no on WhatsApp at 318-1021, on Facebook, on YouTube. And of course, you can call us at 222-8255 and toll free for North Americans, 866-525-1099. Let's see. Helen Prescott, yes. Beauty Culture, yes. Cynthia Iran, yes. Michael Robinson in Japan, yes. All right. You have 3.5 minutes to vote. Trevor Narima via WhatsApp says yes. Thank you, Trevor.
You know what I would like to know? What was the conversation the mother had with that child when she discovered the clothes in thing? You know, what type of conversation took place before it reached at the stage where she took him to the police? You understand?
Mm-hmm. All right, let's grab this call. Good morning.
Yeah, morning, yes.
Thank you.
If I was involved in the camp, I'd call police to my mother after she finished with me.
No kidding.
You know that kind of mother?
I remember your basketball story.
They would call my mother, they call police to my mother when she finished with me.
Yeah.
Cheryl Henry says yes. All right. Would you report your child to the police if you found out they were involved in crime? Yes or no? That's our poll. Yeah, of course, it will stay up on our mobile app, which you should have by now, and our website at power102fm.com.
Sometimes I wonder how I would have turned out if my mom had lived long enough to have that kind of impact on me. Maybe she did have it because I mean, I was 4 years old when she passed, you know, but so maybe she did have an impact on me at that age. But I always wonder sometimes if she had lived longer, what kind of, because I was a spoiled child. Everybody used to tell me that. I was a real spoiled child.
We can see it.
Sexy San Fernando says yes.
You can see it. It's very evident.
Davis says hell yes. What says you, caller?
Hey, Wendell, Paul.
Good morning, Mr.
I'm afraid to call the police for the children because the children threaten them.
Yeah, there's some parents who pay their children.
The parents will call the police. They burn down the house, they shoot them or something. I know about the situation right now. The boy run up in the step and threaten him. So how do you deal with that situation? Everybody said yes, but don't be too easy.
What I will say is no child gets to the stage of being able to threaten their parent without some sort of gap in parenting.
Yes, true.
Yeah. Because it happens that I will do that, but in the end of the day, it happens who can't go and call the police. The child trying to shoot you, I will tell my friend to kill you.
Well, maybe they're reaping the rewards of the seeds they sowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Watchman said it the day before, you know. He said, you know, there are some things people can't be fixed.
Because it's gotten to a certain stage, but if you start from zero, to 7 and 10 and do what you're supposed to do then, it's highly unlikely it will get to that stage.
Yeah. I am extremely strict with my children. I have always been. I've never laid my hands on them, but I've been extremely strict with them.
Once again, Wendell, who the fundraiser is for?
It's for Nile Young, former MP and Minister Nile Young Hippolyte, and it's at Songforge on August 4th.
Next week, Sunday.
Next week, Sunday.
Evans David says yes. Roger Seawing says yes. And he's going to Orlando today. Oh, he should be heading up to the airport.
You ever saw the video on social media where there's a game they play on social media and they ask people questions, including there's one where the family was being asked like fast questions now. And they asked the mother something, they asked the big brother something, and they asked the little girl something, and she said, and they ask her like, what does your father do? And she said, thief car.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh, yeah. All right, let's get into our news at this time.
What you know?
Yeah.
All right, let's get into news right now on this, the 26th day of July.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is Friday, the 26th of July, 2024. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is news to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. We start with the headlines. Keith Scotland's senior counsel to be made a minister in the Ministry of National Security. 17 TNT athletes get ready for Olympic action in Paris as the Paris Games begin today. The doping agency says 90% of entrants have been tested in 2024, and wildfires devastate historic Canadian resort town. We have details coming up next. This is news to 7 a.m. on News Power Digital. Good morning. Government will add a minister to the Ministry of National Security. The person chosen by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is Member of Parliament for Port of Spain South, Keith Scotland Senior Counsel. Dr. Rowley said the President will be advised on the move as the new addition to the Cabinet. Scotland's focus, the Prime Minister said, will be on matters relating to policing. There are 23 members of Cabinet at this time. The disclosure was made public during the weekly post-Cabinet news briefing held yesterday.
I have appointed MP Keith Scotland as Minister in the Ministry of National Security, particularly to deal with police issues, police government issues. And so if you look at the schedule, you would see when you have a minister in the Ministry of anywhere, it says that the minister will do what the minister says or directed to him. So there are 5 areas that I expect that Minister Scotland would focus on, not the least of which is the police, and of course offender management of illegal immigrants, and drug trafficking and money laundering, along with drug enforcement. These are some of the main police assignments.
Dr. Rowley said the police service is faced with many challenges, and the aim is to address them in a meaningful way. He was asked by reporters why it took so long to put a junior minister in the Ministry of National Security.
No other ministry has that institutional arrangement where a body of ministers is treating with national security. No other ministry has that. So minister works and 2 ministers in that's it works. But the National Security Council and the cabinet that I run, there are about 6 or 7 ministers there, and in fact 3 or 4 of them alongside the Minister of National Security, including the Prime Minister. That's where national security has been dealt with. So it's not a question of numerically where they are 2 here and they give me 2 more here and you balance out. How the work was done was that you were far more ministers involved in national security than any other ministry, and the Prime Minister was always involved in national security. I could tell you, in recent times, I have spent more time on the issue of national security than on any other part of my portfolio.
However, in an immediate response, Oropouche East
Director of the Police Complaints Authority, PCA, David West, has supported the appointment of Keith Scotland, SC, as the Minister in the Ministry of National Security, responsible for policing, saying Scotland's appointment will bring added benefits to the TTPS. He said it's a positive appointment. There's no secret there are issues with the TTPS. Scotland's an experienced attorney, and I think he's right man for the job to give guidance to the police. West said that guidance would come from Scotland's legal experience. Scotland has been an attorney at law for over 20 years, and in June was awarded the senior counsel or civil status. 17 athletes will represent Trinidad and Tobago at the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris, which begin today, Friday. A total of 10 men and 7 women will be aiming for glory in 3 disciplines: sports, athletics, cycling, and swimming. Competitors will parade on boats along the Seine River. The French government has promised an unprecedented security operation to guard the Games. The security operation involves the largest peacetime deployment of security forces in French history, with up to 75,000 police officers, soldiers, and hired guards on patrol in Paris at any one time. There will be 2,006 countries represented at the Olympics in Paris and 184 at the Paralympics. NBC correspondent Jay Gray is following the story.
Questions about security that seem to face every host city in these times. Up to 45,000 police and 10,000 soldiers have been deployed. Organizers saying they're confident the games will be safe. Political turmoil from surprising national elections just ahead of the opening ceremony. And concern about pollution levels in the River Seine, which will host 3 triathlon events and marathon swimming. Paris's mayor taking a dip last week in an effort to assure everyone the water is safe.
Meanwhile, the International Testing Agency says nearly 90% of all entrants at the Paris Olympics have been tested this year as part of pre-game anti-doping program. The ITA says it's conducted more than 32,600 doping controls this year, an increase of around 45% on tests of athletes in the previous 6 months. It said the testing led to over 85 cases of potential anti-doping rule violations, resulting in many sanctions and cases that are still ongoing or under review. All salaries, daily paid and monthly paid, have been paid in full, and there are no outstanding wages and salaries payments to any employees. This is one of the updates coming from the chairman of management of the San Juan Lavender Regional Corporation, as it responded to what it describes as misleading articles published in Thursday's Trinidad Guardian. It said the article titled "Employees Unpaid Amid Shortfall at San Juan Corporation." The corporation, however, said there's no missing $2 million in this regional corporation. Overtime, traveling, and other forms of discretionary allowances now require prior approval from the CEO so as to allow for the proper streamlining of expenditure, avoid abuse, and unnecessary wastage. The measure will now allow the corporation to properly monitor and evaluate work done, resulting in a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. Braille copies of the National Strategic Action Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Sexual Violence in Trinidad and Tobago is now in the possession of the Trinidad and Tobago Blind Welfare Association and persons with visual impairments. Kenneth Surat, Executive Officer of the TNT Blind Welfare Association, and Bomani Prasad, First Vice President of Persons Associated with Visual Impairment, received the documents on Thursday at the Parliament Cabildo building in Port of Spain. Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for gender and child affairs, Anna Webster Roy, handed over the documents to both officials on Thursday. The action plan is organized around prevention, protection, prosecution, punishment, and the effective provision of redress for victims and survivors of gender-based violence and sexual violence, including children, the elderly, and persons with disability. The plan includes specialized services for key populations and localized programming. In news of the region, Haiti's new interim Prime Minister Gary Cornille is set to attend next week's summit of CARICOM leaders for the first time since he took office in early June. Among his tasks are to reduce widespread gang violence with the help of a Kenyan-led United Nations security mission and prepare the country for its long-overdue elections. CARICOM's Assistant Secretary General for Foreign and Community Relations, Elizabeth Solomon, says the regional grouping played a major role in reviving Haiti's governance.
Where we are now, where we have a Haitian-led, Haitian-owned process with a transitional presidential council in place, a transitional prime minister in place, is entirely due to the work that was done by Caribbean heads of government. And that is quite extraordinary and something to be very, very proud of. And that, I think, is going to set the tone. We are looking forward to welcoming the new transitional prime minister of Haiti.
A wildfire is ravaging the historic Canadian tourist town of Jasper and the surrounding national park. with an official from Alberta province saying it's still out of control. Roughly 25,000 people have been evacuated from Jasper National Park. The scale of the damage is still unclear, but an official says 30 to 50% of buildings in Jasper may have been destroyed. Global News is following the story. And we end with news that former President and First Lady Barack Obama and Michelle Obama have endorsed the Democratic nominee for President of the U.S., Kamala Harris. They sent a joint statement to the world endorsing Kamala Harris as a worthy candidate and a potential future fantastic president. To end our 7 a.m. newscast, here are the headlines once again. Keith Scotland, SC, to be made a minister in the Ministry of National Security. 17 TNT athletes get ready for Olympic action as the Paris Games begin today. The doping agency says 90% of entrants have been tested in 2024, and Canadian fires devastate a resort town. That is major news to 7 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We'll have headlines coming up at 8 a.m. with major news coming once again at 12 noon.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right. Thank you so much, Paul, for our major news. You can join Paul again for our news update coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. All right. Quickly, let's take a look at what our weather is going to be like for today. It is 27 degrees at Piarco, 28 at Crown Point in Tobago. And the Met Office has, as of 6 o'clock this morning, has said the weather for today, generally sunny, hazy, and breezy, despite 1 or 2 showery intervals. This evening will be mostly fair and hazy. Maximum forecast temperature for today, 33 and 32 at Crown Point in Tobago. All right. Traffic-wise, let's see. Got a little bit of traffic by Santa Rosa. There was an accident by Pinto Road on the Churchill Roosevelt Highway heading eastbound. I think that is cleared up now, just to back out to clear up Trinity City towards UE. After UE, you're pretty much clear until you get the swim call on the Beetham. Going through Kelly Village, you've got some traffic there. Leaving San Fernando, volume again as you head northbound. And by Chase Village, you've got it as well. All right. So there you go. All right. Let's see if we have any more votes coming in. We got Marcia Rock saying yes. And and that's it.
Yep. So our poll this morning is, would you report your child to the police if you thought that they were involved, if you found out they were involved in crime? Mm-hmm. Right? I'm guessing that those are the exact words. We had 30 people saying yes, and I have one person saying no. Michael Granderson, you'll correct me if your vote was no. I think I suspected that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you meant to say no. You said honestly no, but if I seem to have no choice, I will be forced to with gravel in my heart. So I'm not sure if your answer is no or yes. I'm not sure. But I had it as no because you said honestly no. So that's our poll for today, and it will run for the entire weekend because
that's Wendell's poll today. Wendell's poll today.
Yeah, my poll. You're getting to my poll whole weekend. You know what people want? You know what people would like to?
Antonio Butt says,
oh, I saved myself there. I saved myself.
I have a story for you. I had to come to my box again.
Richard, good morning.
Hi, good morning, guys.
Hi, Richard. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay,
very good, Wendell. You sound like me there with this sarcasm, man. You're improving. The lessons are working.
I learned from him too, you know. That's one of the best, you know, in the business. That one, that snarky man there.
Not one of the best, he is the best.
Let me say a special good morning to Ingrid from Lemonwood from Tucson, Arizona. Because I've normally been chatting with Ingrid from Tucson on Facebook Messenger. But I have also been chatting with this person on my WhatsApp for more than 2 years, and I never knew who it was. I just had this number in my phone book, and I just never associated it with Ingrid from Tucson. Until this morning, I finally said, you know, I don't know who this is. Could you identify? And she said, it's Ingrid. I said, I felt so embarrassed. Because as I said, for 2 years now, I've been chatting with this person and did not know who it was. I was just chatting with a foreign number. So good morning, Ingrid. I have fixed it though. You're now contact in my phone. You've always been chatting with me on Messenger, Facebook, but I really didn't know it was you on that phone.
Okay. Well, I can say good morning, Ingrid. Good morning, CJ. Good morning, Ray. These are so many people from abroad you speak with.
Yeah, well, I have CJ and Ray and the others' numbers. I've lots, and Captain Ron now I have his number, so he sends me messages every day too. Some very uplifting messages he sends. I share them sometimes as my status. You know, this morning this was the one he sent this morning that I thought was very, 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 very important. Don't let getting lonely make you reconnect with toxic people. You shouldn't drink poison just because you're thirsty. I thought that was a very, very important message, Captain, and very timely. Thank you.
All right. So we are waiting for some folks from the Ministry of National Security to discuss on what day? The 30th, Wednesday, would be World Day Against Trafficking. Right?
Dame Marie Marshall is not a stranger to me and to us because their entire family listens to the show. She was a former TTPS officer. I think she's now with the ministry as deputy director of that counter trafficking unit. As I say, her entire family listens to the show. She is the sister of Charles Marshall, daughter of Stephen, her husband. Her father name is Stephen, actually. Stephen and Deborah. You know, I know them well. I know the entire family well. Sister was a alderman at the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation. That's Denil. Yeah, so it's the Marshall family are very, very strong fans of the Power Breakfast Show.
Good morning to the Marshall family then.
Very, very strong fans of the Breakfast Show.
And good morning, Mrs. R.
That's a good question, Cheryl Henry. I wonder if Minister Gonzalez will ever find out which WASA employee made the legal connection to the circus in Port of Spain.
Yeah.
Well, you have to ask Mr. WASA employee based on where that hose was connected.
Yeah. For those that don't know, there was a hose connected to a WASA pumping station at the Queen's Park, Savannah, running straight to the circus. And
long hose
indeed. And WASA, well, after the video was posted, WASA went and disconnected. But how, in my mind, how could you rent a space without water?
There is facilities to get water. That's what they use for vending and things at the Savannah. But you had to pay for it. You understand? So maybe whoever, the circus or whoever decide we don't want to pay for it. And somebody come up with the bright idea to run a long hose.
You mean they don't want to pay WASA for it?
Well, true. That's true.
Everyone said they want to pay for it. They don't want to pay WASA for it.
Yeah, that's true. But it was a long hose.
So let's hope, while we wait our guests, let's open the phone lines and you tell us what you think about MP Scotland's imminent ascension to ministerial position later today.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Hey, Zena.
And thank you, Paul, for asking Steve to open the line.
Zena, I have news to tell you, girl.
I've been cut off twice. What? Tell me.
Paul is about Paul.
Well, the way how I see him.
I see ladies coming out of his car 2 days in a row, girl.
No wonder he's so impeccably dressed this morning. You understand? I was wondering what is going on.
But now you know he dressing for the girls.
Me and more report.
If you must know, I have a meeting with the Chinese ambassador later today.
Oh, excuse me.
I know it was important today. Watch me, I'm caught up in the lava flow that's taking place in America there with that election campaign. It have me going to bed very, very, very late. Yeah, man, the volcano erupting over there, man.
So do you think MP Scotland will make a difference in the effectiveness of the Trinidad and Tobago police service? One of the
I'm optimistic. I will say if you know, I'm hopeful, but he's not. Remember, I'm just keeping in mind that, and people should keep in mind, he's not Jesus Christ superstar. But I am optimistic, right? Yeah. I'm talking. I'm focusing now this last meeting here on Kamala Harris and what is taking place in America.
You're going to campaign or what?
It's Kamala, not Kamala.
It's not Kamala.
Kamala.
It's not Kamala.
It's not Kamala.
K-A.
She came out and
spelled. The pronunciation is Kamala.
Yeah, Kamala. That is how she came out and said, "Let's get my name straight."
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Listen, you and I know if are to like that poll this morning. Anyhow,
I want poll. You're not like it.
I really fussy with your poll this morning.
Exactly.
I wanted a poll.
You know, more people tripping over themselves to answer that, to respond to that poll.
I ain't care. I wanted it to be Paul's poll.
All right. You get money. You get that money.
You get, yeah.
All right. So we hopeful for things to happen when Mr. Scott's on there. All right, gentlemen. You have a wonderful weekend.
As I said earlier on.
Richard.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Richard.
Yeah.
I found you were a bit tardy in telling Mrs. R good morning. You called others long before, and then you were saying but you ain't telling Mrs. R.
I called the North Americans first. That's what I did. I was talking to the North Americans.
Oh, all right,
okay. And the only local person I said good morning to was Mrs. R. I didn't tell you good morning. I said Mrs. R.
Yes, and I was waiting to school you, that's all. So I didn't expect it. So I will touch a quick base with you this weekend with Richard.
Okay, cool.
Right, good.
Richard, I have a message for you.
Have a good weekend.
Good morning, Julia Batiste, too. Good morning.
Yeah. Richard, I have a message for you from Kurt Edwards. He said you can't, you shouldn't be describing lawn tennis as on a hard court. He said that can't be lawn tennis. Lawn tennis is played only in London on the grass court. Lawn tennis can only be played on a grass court. That was his reason. That's just tennis or hardcore tennis. It's not called lawn tennis. I don't know. I'm no expert. I'm just telling you what the message I got. But it seems we have our guests online.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
So let's welcome our guest this morning, from the Ministry of National Security's Counter Trafficking Unit, CTU, in Mr. Alan Miguel, CTU Director Mr. Alan Miguel, and CTU Deputy Director Ms. Dane Marie Marshall, who we've had on before. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Miguel. How is your lovely wife?
Oh, she's doing well. She's doing well.
That's my wonderful friend.
That's where I know this. That's where I know this gentleman from. Okay, that explains everything. Then
let me tell you something. That
explains everything.
Man in the world.
I thought the name was familiar. I thought the name was familiar.
You don't know what to say. You better say yes.
Certainly.
Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you so much.
So we're talking about again counter trafficking. The last time we would have had Miss Marshall on. She gave us a wonderful account of the good work that the unit had done in dealing with a situation involving someone who was being trafficked tonight, and we congratulated her. So now it would be good for those who may not have seen that to give us a sense of what the counter trafficking unit of the Ministry of National Security does.
Yeah, well, we came into existence by way of the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime and the protocol to punish and prosecute persons involved in trafficking in men and children especially. And out of that was born the TIPS Act, the Trafficking in Persons Act of Trinidad and Tobago. That established the counter-trafficking unit, and we represent the country's response to trafficking in persons. So it is within our remit, not just to apprehend and prosecute persons involved in trafficking in persons, but also to protect and care for victims of trafficking.
Could you give us some statistics, either of you good people, on the level of trafficking that's happening in Trinidad and Tobago that we may not be aware of? Because it's something that I don't think is a fun burner issue unless something explodes in the newspaper, but certainly because the unit is there, they certainly would have been an issue that needs to be resolved or continuously monitored. Could you give us a sense of what the stats look like?
Yes, definitely. For the last reporting period, the counter trafficking unit got close to 144 reports. In those reports, about 77 of those reports actually was actioned into live investigations. And from that, we are still have continuing investigations in some of them, and some of them were brought before the court. So as we say all the time, once we have the migrant flows and there is an existence of vulnerability of any person, migrant or not, trafficking in persons will exist.
Should we be overly concerned, good people, about the amount of reports we've been getting on social media with missing people lately?
Yeah.
You know, I have been asked that question every single time. But even before I was asked it, I too, yes, give some contemplation to that. It seems as though every day there are young persons going missing and so on. So my next activity really is to liaise with the police, the police, Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, to find out what percentage of persons who were reported lost at one time actually return. And that will give me an idea as to whether it is in fact we have trafficking within our borders, or whether it is our young population, youthful population, is in fact victims of trafficking or vulnerable to traffickers.
Now, Mr. Miguel, you are saying you have to liaise with the police. So isn't it a natural, how I should put it, a natural cause that they will immediately contact you once they get a report of a missing person, just in case it is in fact trafficking?
No, the obligation really is when persons exhibit indicators of trafficking, then the counter trafficking unit will be activated. This is why I say I'm going to make it my personal mission, yes, to join forces with the police to understand what is the percentage of persons who are in fact returning home from trafficking.
Well, let me ask a really basic question. What constitutes trafficking?
So trafficking, of course, is an offense that constitutes the act, the means, and the purpose. So as what Wendell was just asking about, the immediate persons to be contacted in relevant of a missing persons will be the anti-kidnapping squad. And as director indicated, only at the point where indicators are shown that we are able to develop a trafficking situation. And these indicators is the act, the means, the purpose. Act being a recruitment, transport, transfer, harboring of an individual. The means, whether it was by coercion, deception, force, fear, on abuse of vulnerability, And the purpose being whether it is sexual exploitation, exploitation of one's prostitution, labor exploitation, domestic servitude, or we could go as far as organ harvesting. So, and we are seeing where our legislation also adds any other thing. So anything that constitutes a purpose of exploitation, once the means is attached and the act is attached, obviously it's a trafficking situation. In cases of children, we do not have to legally find the means. So all you need for a case of a child trafficking situation is the fact that an act occurred and the purpose happened.
Yeah. What are the usual, when you look at trafficking situations internationally, they can go into all sorts of darkness in terms of people taken from one country, trafficked to the next, even being sold as slaves. Basically, very transactional. In a Trinidad and Tobago situation, what is the kind of template that is most common, or are we equally seeing that transactional type of trafficking where people are taken from Trinidad and sent to other countries and stuff? Are we that sophisticated in terms of the cases we see, or is it that we are more recipient of people being trafficked locally?
Well, that is a broad question, and to get to the meat of the matter, yes, the broad spectrum approach you see in international trafficking in persons, yeah, that is the template really. But there's a slight distinction between smuggling and trafficking. Yes, it is more technical than ever. But with regards to the Trinidad and Tobago experience, in a little more granular form, it may involve an attempt to lure persons to Trinidad on the promise that they are going to get jobs, that they are going to live a good life, and they're going to be able to send back money home to their family and so on. And the political and economic situation in Venezuela plays nicely into that. So persons in the middle of the night in Guerrilla and Tocopita, they get onto a boat and they make the jump from Venezuela to Trinidad. When they land mostly on our southern coast, maybe some panel van or some driver pick them up and take them to some place that they don't know about. Yes? As Wendell said, your passport is taken, and suddenly you find yourself in bond, meaning that you're told that you have a $20,000 debt, a $30,000 debt. How are you going to pay it? And life changes for that person. That is one of the classic examples that we face on our southern borders because of that situation with Venezuela. However, our issue in terms of trafficking in persons does not really reside with the migrant flows from Venezuela. We, a short while ago, spoke about the number of missing persons. And we are not discounting the fact that they might be the victims of trafficking to another land. I spoke about maybe a young person want to be with the in crowd. They go hanging out and a roofie is slipped into the drinks. Next thing they end up in the hull of a windjammer going to parts unknown. So you see, it is a transnational organized crime. And what you see portrayed on television is a reflection of reality. However, we have a specific reality in Trinidad and Tobago, and in the manner in which I just described.
Have we ever had a case where someone was trafficked for their organs to be harvested? Have we ever encountered any issue like that?
We are not aware. We're not aware of that. However, we are not going to discount that or dismiss it as far-fetched. We are keeping our minds open and our eyes open to see if there's any evidence of that and to treat with it according to the law.
Because, you know why I ask that, right? Why I ask that is because in a lot of instances, it's young, seemingly very healthy, vibrant people who are turning up missing. So you think and talk on the ground is that maybe it's about organ harvesting.
And we are right to keep that within our contemplation as a possible cause. because these are people at the peak of their life. Their organs are in the best in the best shape ever, you know. So that cannot be discounted. And we have seen worldwide in other countries where that is common. In fact, I've read accounts of where persons lured into a hotel by a prostitute, and they wake up sometime after sitting in a bucket of ice with a kidney missing, or So that is not far fetched at all in the job that we do.
Scary.
I have a two-part question. One part involves allegations, because these are usually quite sophisticated operations. The involvement of allegations of the involvement of specific officers of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in these trafficking schemes. And part two about that is the involvement of gangs who are as part of the gang's illegal business model. So can you speak to whether or not there are investigations as to whether officers may be involved in the smuggling rings, or the counter-trafficking rings, the trafficking rings in Trinidad and Tobago? And if I'm sure you've heard those allegations, what is the CTU doing about that?
Right, so let's take the second part first. The gangs and the trafficking in persons is but an economy of the gangs. There are some gangs who have specialization in different form of criminality, and trafficking in persons is but one of them. So any investigation into gangs ought to look at the economy, and if trafficking in persons is one of the economy, certainly we'll have interest there. The other thing is officials engaged in trafficking. Police officers are placed into position of trust, into position of authority, in a position to influence things. And as human beings, they too fall short of the glory. And many young persons and so on, who come from the society, they come into the police service, and many of them haven't severed that criminal attitude. Yes, and they come into the service and they continue with it. Yes, we have police officers being prosecuted as we speak before the court. They haven't been identified as part of the network, or facilitating the network, or encouraging the network, or in some case, they are the boss. They are the bosses of the network. So we are, of course, always anxious when we are looking at the networks to see what officials are engaged in it, and to deal with them especially. Yes, so I hope that answers the question.
What are the vulnerable groups in Trinidad and Tobago? You mentioned, of course, the Venezuelan situation next door, which is like a perfect storm for persons who are engaged in trafficking of persons and illegal guns and drugs, etc. Are there other vulnerable groups, inclusive of young women in particular, who come from Venezuela for refuge in Trinidad and Tobago?
Dr. Richards, the key point is vulnerability. It matters not the demographics of the persons, whether they're a young person, whether they are experienced experienced thieves or so on, and they brought over here to do the same thing. It matters not. The question is whether it is that this particular group is showing vulnerability, and whether it is out of the dark, you have persons there lurking, ready to exploit that vulnerability. Yes, I could well imagine that if a Venezuelan male comes over here in search of better opportunities, and if he have a particular skill, I wouldn't be surprised if he's kidnapped and forced into that from the point of view of a criminal enterprise. Yeah. So the question is not so much the group or the gender or anything like that, is whether they exhibit vulnerability that can be exploited by the traffickers.
Yeah.
But
I assume
it's important to know that the UN's theme this year is Leave No Child Behind. So the counter-trafficking unit is really focusing on our young people and the vulnerability that is attached to our young people, both migrant children and, of course, nationals of Trinidad and Tobago.
I'm assuming that there are certain markers or telltale signs that can indicate that somebody is being trafficked, and the behavior of the trafficked person in a public environment that can signal to other people with trained eyes that something is wrong, that the average person may not pick up. So I'm wondering, in that context, how much training
does the counter trafficking unit do in terms of identifying these markers that this person can be a potential trafficked person and to whom this training is offered? Meaning, for example, Caribbean Airlines personnel, do you train flight attendants to pick up these markers? People on the ferries who work on the ferries, the APT James and stuff, do you train that kind of personnel to pick up these markers? I'm just wondering how extensive that kind of training is in very public areas where people interface, and because trafficked persons will be moved around and will be in public environments, but under the issue of fear or whatever hold the person has over them, they may not be able to help themselves and say, I need help in an obvious way.
All right. So Richard, beautiful question. So the counter-trafficking unit is mandated by law to offer public awareness and public engagement training to members of law enforcement, civil society, NGOs, schools, youth groups, you name it. Once you contact us, we are there to offer any significant training. We'll tailor it to whoever it is. You just spoke about those persons who operate in our transits, with internally and externally. And I'm proud to announce about the Blue Line. So the Blue Line is an initiative under the Ministry of Works and Transport, the Counter-Trafficking Unit, Ministry of National Security. And this is really moving in a direction of some of our international partners who have solved and rescued persons who were being trafficked during a course of travel via sea or air. So it is something that we recognize that has happened, and we in Trinidad and Tobago has taken the mantle to encourage that type of environment here. But I'll say to you, training in relation to indicators is nothing that is new. And quite recently, since we have sat in directorate, we have had the Immigration Division observe a foreign national moving in Tobago on a ferry and make the necessary attempts to intercepted the individual, and then we took up the mantle upon that referral. So we are continuing to engage persons because, as everything else, training is something that is continuous. But we are mandated by law, and we will continue to do what is necessary to encourage persons to invite us to have conversations with them whenever.
But more specifically, after Richard's question, good people, how is it that you will alert us, the public, as to what signs to look for? Because surely the public can help in instances like this, because they may be seeing a situation right next door to them in a house, and they may not know what are some. So in addition to the signs that you have to look for, how could you advise us how to help you?
But Wendell, we have some PSAs running prime time. And where we really move, we show the population what signs to look for. We even go as far as having partnered with IOM and UNDP and Interclub to develop billboards and even bus wrapping with motifs that will give you signs, indicators, and informing you, observing whether somebody is restricted in movement, looking to see whether or not the person has their eyes are low, non-verbals, just observing particular characteristics. And we are actually putting out those indicators out in the open so persons could be able to identify a situation. What we do not want is for persons to just centralize those things to just the migrant community, because we are seeing that in coming in reports that comes through our hotline, where once is a migrant, they immediately enact that that this might be a trafficking situation. Lest we forget, the first trafficking conviction in Trinidad and Tobago was actually, the victim was actually a Trinidad and Tobago national. So we are in that direction. If the director wants to add something.
No, well, let's just add some practical thought to this. If a young person is in an environment and that person is not allowed to interact with person their own ages, that person is showing withdrawal symptom, that person is, the whole demeanor is one of subjugation. That is certainly an indicator But as the deputy director said, it's not limited to any one particular. It may be a combination depending on the circumstances and the settings within which the behavior is observed. But certainly, if one has any suspicion, any inclination that it may be, we encourage that person to send that information to us. Let us decide whether, in fact, it is not so. But we certainly will encourage persons and so on to give that information, and we will take it up from there.
But there's a suggestion coming on the chat, Mr. Miguel and Ms. Marshall, from a councillor in the city, that CTU should have a presence at regional coordinating meetings. And here why I tend to agree with this, because councillors in large measure are the people who are moving through the communities, going house to house, door to door, and interacting with the people within the communities. And they may actually be able to help in terms of assisting someone if they know what to look for. So maybe that's a consideration, because I know that the TTPS and other state agencies attend these regional meetings. So you might want to consider sending a CTU representative to some of these regional corporations too in these meetings.
Wendell, you are absolutely right. This is why the whole ethos of the Directorate of the Counter-Trafficking Unit is to form partnerships. Yes, we have NGOs, we have all of civil society, we meet and work in groups, right? So we are out there, we are open to any suggestion that would give us the advantage in terms of a response to trafficking in persons. So if that counselor, if he just send the details, we will be in contact with him almost immediately, and we will invite him, of course, maybe for a coffee or maybe to sit in on one of the working groups. I always invite people for coffee.
All right. His name is Clint Batiste.
All right.
All right.
Good.
Those other gentlemen, I think Paul's mic is muted. He's asking something.
I was saying warning, controversial question. So you're knowing that.
Okay.
let me sit up.
Let me sit.
Now, Director Miguel and Deputy Director Marshall spoke both about issues of vulnerability and about persons being involved. My question goes with a question about, and this is a broad scenario. If someone is taken seemingly against their will and put on a craft on the sea, and they have to call for help because they feel they're being lured into a sexual environment against their will, would that constitute as trafficking?
No, not necessarily. What you just did there is a fact scenario that only an investigation will be able, properly led, of course, will be able to come to a determination as to whether that is in fact a case of trafficking or a case of kidnapping.
And part two of the question, I have heard of organizations, we spoke about persons earlier on, that proffer to be centers of adult entertainment in the country, 18 years and over, that provide entertainment of various types to clientele that may or may not involve young women serving drinks, meals, and potentially other services, because they are a vulnerable group and they are either brought to Trinidad and Tobago or are nationals of Trinidad and Tobago seeking employment and end up in these scenarios and are coerced or encouraged to go beyond what may be legal services in Trinidad and Tobago. Is the CTU looking at those sorts of potential environments and establishments and running investigations? Because we've heard about them from time immemorial. Some people say it starts with dancing. There may be gambling involved in some instances. And it ends up that these establishments are fronts for young women in particular who are encouraged into a life of prostitution and told this is the way out of poverty. And in their naivety and desperate situations, they accede or acquiesce to these situations. And before they know it, the exploitation, well, from the start it's bad, it's exploitation, but it becomes a way of life for them. and they are coerced into these unfortunate circumstances.
Dr. Richards, we are a multi-agency organization. We have immigration segment attached to us. We have military. We are expecting labor to come on board. So people being here illegally, let's say to get involved in, let's just use the word bartending. It is only if after we do a screen, and our screening, we have a specific screening that we do. It is only after screening can it be determined whether this person, whether their labor was exploited, whether they were exploited for sex or otherwise. It is only after that screening we make that determination. If, however, they do not show signs of indicators of trafficking, then the immigration is there to deal with it as an illegal entry into the country. So we understand why an organization like this must be interagency. If, however, indicators are present, then the counter-trafficking unit, we take that aspect of it. Now, in making that determination that a person merely entered the country illegally and is engaged in work, and a person is being exploited or trafficked, the distinction between the two is that in the latter, in the case of a person who is being trafficked, the state has obligations in relation to that. We have to protect, house, and clothe that person. So this is why our screening is very important. But so if it is that the immigration were to launch an exercise, launch an operation, and they ask us to come along to help assist with the screening, and we see people showing signs of trafficking, then we take that, and there is a whole obligation on the counter-trafficking unit's part. If, however, they don't, then the immigration will deal with that aspect of it.
How many prosecutions, successful prosecutions, or successful charges, I should say, has the CTU been able to levy, or is it through the police service, or whatever the mechanism is, to persons? And how many organizations would you say that have been investigated and found to be culpable in the reporting period?
It's the last reporting period and this present reporting period.
Well, you can give us a chronology if you can.
I could only speak to what is happening in this reporting period. So far, we're actually addressing 2 networks as we speak, and we would, as we speak, we have some people in custody. So we would be, so in this reporting period, we'll be at 2 sets of charges. Reporting period, of course, starts from April 1st to 31st of the following year. So I think we are in a good place. For this reporting period, we have already engaged over 33 persons in terms of screenings, and we have confirmed 6 of them as being victims of trafficking. However, most of them really are not interested in pursuing matters in the court, and we have to, of course, respect that. And they had sought to be repatriated to their homelands.
So if they don't want to pursue the matter, can the CTU or the ministry please, continue prosecution or the process, or do they have to be involved and continue being willing to participate in that act, given that the CTU or the Ministry of National Security or the police investigation would have or may have established there's a really strong case for trafficking here?
Richard, Dr. Richards, let me explain. A rescue happens, an exercise is conducted, a rescue happens. First thing that has to be done after that rescue is a social assessment. That social assessment is done in partner with the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, one of their social workers. A report is obtained. Social assessments, again, are continued with the Victim and Witness Support Unit with the collaboration of Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And as this is determine the readiness of the individual to give any statement for the court. We press into medicals to ensure that they are, of course, physically okay. Of course, some of them might have been infected with sexually transmitted diseases. We treat with those issues, of course, because we have to, of course, maintain a victim-centered approach. But in the instance where a woman fails or refuses to give a statement, we cannot even progress the matter. Where there are statements, I trust you, we were able to, because of the amendments in the legislation, we can. And even in port of repatriation, and we have matters ongoing in court, we have the necessary submissions that can be placed if they refuse to return. But there is a great number of women who are not, or who were not willing to even record statements in the matter. More than the screening and identifying the screening and having corroborated the information from the screening and being deemed potential victims of trafficking, they decided to return to their home country. The director has anything?
Yeah. Okay. What about perpetrators? Have we ever caught any big fishes in terms of trafficking?
Every trafficking fish is a big one.
Oh. No, but we have the court system, and there are a number of cases that is making its way. It's in the tunnel right now, but I don't think we want to elaborate further on that, except to say that there are a few good prospects within the system.
Well, I know that the U.S. Trafficking and Persons Report recently upgraded Trinidad and Tobago to Tier 2, which, of course, I assume is in part, a great part, due to the work of the CTU. And, of course, generally the state putting things in place and allocating resources to take us up from the Tier 2 watch list to Tier 2. Which is kind of in line with a lot of the other Caribbean islands. But one of the things mentioned in that report was the issue of re-trafficking, that the issue that people can be taken out of the trafficking situation, be in immigration detention centers, etc., and other places of let's call it safety, but of detention by the state, but then are re-trafficked. I mean, are there instances of that are, I don't know, of course, if you had liberty to talk about it, but are you seeing that sort of collusion in those national security agencies by corrupt officials that the CTU has its eye on? Because the American report seems to reference such instances existing. And as part of the minimum standards that we are not meeting in those areas.
Let me walk a little bit of a tightrope here. Some persons are trafficked because, as I say, they exhibit vulnerabilities. Sometimes in migrant flow. Let's keep it to migrant flows for the moment. If it is our system does not have the capacity to treat with them as victims, and I use victims in the widest term, then sometimes these people and they may say, well, look, they're opting out of the system, and maybe with the traffickers and they might stand a better chance of sending money back home. That's the reality. So what we have to do, we have to adjust our operations so that we have this victim-centered approach where we can have the person live a meaningful life while we await trial. So this is our approach, a more humanitarian approach, because we understand that people in a system that's waiting for a trial, they can feel imprisoned.
Yeah.
However, they are free. So what we are doing now, we are trying to do a more humanitarian approach. We look at the demographic of the migrant group that we are dealing with, and understand that they come from a different culture, they come from a different, where you have different culinary tastes and so on, and we have to do that to make their stay while we are waiting trial not as onerous or as if they're incarcerated, because we are under an obligation not to re-traumatize victims. We have to make sure that when we conduct our business, we don't put that person again in a traumatic situation, maybe accept it for them to retell their story. So on our part, we would really, really like for persons not to leave our care and go out there and try to do other things.
Mm.
So we are building our capacity, especially in terms of victim shelter, victim care, and so on, to avoid instances of that. And we are being helped all along the continuum by a lot of United Nations organizations, including the United States Department of State. So we are not surprised, and we're very happy that we are out of the watch list. But this is not our destination. It's just part of our journey to Tier 1.
If someone wants to contact in closing the CTU or make a report, how should they go about doing that?
Via our hotline, 800-4CTU, 800-4288.
Thank you both for being with us this morning.
Just one, if I may. I just want the public to know we place a very high premium on confidentiality, because we know that is a barrier to persons making report. So to the general public out there, if you deal with CTU, you're dealing with a degree of confidence, a confidentiality that will help us to keep the public safe. We give that assurance.
And with all this engagement, we were unable to even indicate that the Counter Trafficking Unit is commemorating World Day Against Trafficking in Persons on the 30th of July as a day, UN Day. The theme this year is Leave No Child Behind. And we are having an art exhibition at New Fleurs on the 31st and 1st of July, 1st of August from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And it's free to the public to view. And these would have been submissions from artists, both from the migrant community and our local artists. And it depicts trafficking in persons. So go out and take a look and see.
800-4CTU?
800-4288.
And we are represented on all platforms.
You all are not police officers, are you?
We are the directors of a law enforcement unit that utilizes different agencies to have that operational response.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
But I would have asked that question in the context of the confidentiality that you exposed just now.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Even the different agents here, that is our SOPs.
Vetted and polygraph persons.
Every single person. Yes.
Vetted and polygraphed. I like that.
Yes.
Thank you guys for being with us this morning.
Thanks so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate the conversation.
Okay, thanks for having us.
Yeah. All the best.
Tell mom and dad.
Gentlemen, this is where we wrap it up for this week.
Yep, this is it. Yeah. This is it. The weekend has
look Luan Mooking on the chat there. What the jail is this?
This is it. The weekend has begun, people. And I just reminding you that theater will be back on August the 10th and 11th. We start our new play, which is one of the plays that we haven't done in like 11 years or so, or more. It's called Lotto Madness. And we will be back with that play on August 10th and 11th at Sapa. That's where we are going to start with that play. And of course, you should look forward to it. This is a very interesting play.
Well, I know who that play targeting already. Folks, have a wonderful weekend.
So you might as well warn them.
I know. I'm gonna call them right after the show. Folks,
great weekend, everybody. Be safe.
Have a wonderful weekend. Be careful on the roads. Remember to let go and let God.